that everybody on earth is talking about is that the reigning, defending, current national champion of the college football world, Jim Harbaugh, is now the head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers.
Hey, baby Jimbo.
That was announced yesterday at 6:43 Eastern Time by this man, who is a Michigan man's Twitter account. Adam Schefter will be joining us in about 9 minutes to break down how we inevitably got here. Because if you do recall, December 4th, I believe, Schefter came on our show whenever we were in New York, and this is how he described the Harbaugh-Michigan situation to us. Has Harbaugh's camp or team thought about that, or are they just focused on college football playoff?
Well, I would say that, to me, he's always wanted to go bring a national championship to Michigan. And I think if he brings a national championship to Michigan, I would think there would be a part of him that feels like he set out to do what he intended all along. And I think that that would give him even more liberty to take the jump to the NFL.
So literally since December 4th, Adam Schefter has kind of been saying that all Harbaugh wanted to do whenever he got back to Michigan was restore some greatness to Michigan. I think it was a narrative that was heard loud and clear by a lot of Michigan alums, because whenever Jim Harbaugh leaves the national champion Michigan team to go to the Chargers, all we saw yesterday was Michigan alums saying, "Thank you, Michigan man, Jim Harbaugh, for doing what you did to our beloved school." Beat Ohio State 3 straight times, won 3 straight college football playoffs, won a national championship. Now we're back in the conversation and allegedly handing off the baton to Sherrone Moore, who hasn't been hired yet because state law.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's state law. Rest in peace, Donnie Baker. But there's at least a week has to take place before the highest paid, I'd assume, state employee is hired with anything else like that. So Sherrone Moore is a guy that Jim Harbaugh found, gave an opportunity to, and is now handing off the ranks to keep Michigan at this high level, while Harbaugh now heads to Los Angeles Chargers, a place that he played for, a place that he's won for, a place that he's close to the owners, and I think he's coached ownership's kids maybe whenever they were at Stanford.
Okay.
Now, there was other teams that were certainly interested in Jim Harbaugh's services. Atlanta was scheduling another interview with him coming in there. He was the belle of the ball for this coaching cycle for good reason. All this human has ever done. Now, not a quarterback. I don't think he's ever won a Super Bowl. He is in the Colts Ring of Honor. I think he played like 4 games or something for the Indianapolis Colts. But all he has done as a head coach is win. Established an attitude and a culture of being physically tougher than other teams and not dealing with any of the nonsense outside. That is exactly what the Chargers need right now. The amount of talent they have on that team, the quarterback that they have, we think this is going to be a beautiful relationship. And congrats to the Chargers getting this thing done.
Yeah.
Now, Michigan obviously had massive success. At the Niners, he had massive success. At Stanford, he had massive success. I think even at San Diego State, where he started, he had massive success. This guy knows how to coach ball. Now, we think he's incredibly hilarious. I love that he is not normal. I like that he is quirky, even though that has been a weapon of his in his coaching style and winning over a locker room. And I think the NFL should be very pumped that he's back with us. I do know that a lot of the big people in the college football world, the Kirk Herbstreits, the Reese Davises, the Desmond Howards, they're all going to miss the hell out of Jim Harbaugh being in college football, because the persona, the personality, the moxie, the culture that he brings is good for any league that he's in. So we're all pumped that he's back in the NFL. There are certainly some people bummed, but if you're a Chargers fan, let's go.
Yeah.
We're back in this thing with a legitimate horse. The Toxic Table is here at Boston Connor and at Ty Schmidt. We had a chance to talk to Brandon Staley in person.
Yeah.
Shortly after he was hired. And I think we all left that conversation going, I've never met an NFL coach like that before.
Good guy.
He said his coaching tree wasn't McVay. It was mom and dad.
Bruce and Linda?
Bruce and Linda are coaches in Ohio. Now, COVID takes place. I think he was a very interpersonal type coach. Wants to win them over, talk to them, meet their family. Couldn't do that for 2 years because of the situation that was happening around the globe. It did take place. Please don't cancel me for even mentioning that entire thing. And inevitably, just never really worked out. The Brandon never really worked out. Now, they got some real stability, a championship mindset, and the Spanos has had to pay. And they're not normally known for the people that are going to go up and above and beyond to pay people. You know, their bank account is not normally questioned by everybody. They somehow wrangle in the big fish. One half of the Hammer Dime Cowboys Tone Digs is here. Bill Belichick at the beginning was maybe going to go to the Chargers. How about Vrabel maybe going over to the Chargers? Pete Carroll wanted the job. Jim Harbaugh gets the Chargers job. Congrats to everybody over there, we think, on this particular day.
Yeah, I mean, they even interviewed David Shaw.
there's a lot of names in the hat for them, and I'm pretty sure we all thought, you all thought, everyone, if Harbaugh wants that job, he wants that job. And I don't know if we have the clip or not, but especially when Greeny told us that they were at a funeral and Greeny didn't care about the person. I think, do we have it? Yes, please.
The same day that Schefter told us that Harbaugh, as you saw with Greeny, he was on the first question whenever Schefter was there. You could actually hear us dapping him up while Schefter was giving us an answer on his way out. So Harbaugh was a big topic of conversation this day. And here's how Greeny described what he thinks Harbaugh would want to do in the NFL because of a conversation he had at a funeral.
Yeah.
You may know Jim Harbaugh better than I do, but I know him a little. He was the quarterback of the Bears when I covered them in the 90s. And I happened to run into Jim. We were at a funeral about a year and a half ago.
Rest in peace, rest in peace.
Thank you very much. Thoughts and prayers. And it was just a mutual friend of ours who died. And we got to talking. Now, I want to make it very clear. We were not talking about a coaching vacancy. We were not talking about him leaving Michigan. Nothing. We were just talking about how great the young quarterback play is in the National Football League. All these great young quarterbacks, Burrow, Mahomes, blah, blah, blah. He spent 5 minutes telling me that he thinks that Justin Herbert is the best of all of them. He loves Herbert. Take that for what you will. I do not think that Harbaugh will be back at Michigan next year. I'm not sure what the circumstances are that will cause his departure, but whether they beat Alabama or not, whether they win the championship or not, I do not think he is going to be back at Michigan next year based on all that I think is coming down the road with the NCAA with them.
And Greeny hasn't been right about everything, but he's in 2 Hall of Fames for a reason. Yeah. And I think a lot of people saw the writing on the wall potentially for Harbaugh getting back into the NFL because a lot of money to be made as a head coach in the NFL. But him saying all he talked about was how good Herbert is, and then you see the success he had with Andrew Luck, obviously, at Stanford, and how big and strong and seemingly similar personalities that Herbert has alongside Andrew Luck. I think he feels that they'll be able to mesh well, and he'll be able to get the most out of him. Joining us now is a man who coached football for 36 years, 18 in college, 18 in the NFL, the people's coach, our coach, Chuck Pagano. Now, Chuck, perfect day for you coming here. Why do you think Harbaugh chose the Chargers? Do you think it is because of Herbert? And what do you expect from the Chargers now that Harbaugh's the head coach?
Yeah, certainly the quarterback always has a lot to do with it. His relationship going back to his playing days for the Chargers, his relationship with the Spanos family. You talked about, possible the Spanos kid walking on at Stanford, him coaching him. It just lined up, right? I mean, they had this guy circled long before this ever happened, and I'm sure Harb's flirted around with Minnesota last year or 2 years ago, Denver year ago. So I think this was inevitable. He won the national championship. It was like, okay, I checked the box. I did what I set out to do at Michigan, got them back on track, won the national championship. So the guy he's back in the NFL, and he's got like top 5 winning percentage.
No, he's highest. Number 1 active,
He's the highest right now. 44 and 19 and 1 at San Francisco. Built just a juggernaut there. He was doing with Kaepernick long before anybody, like everybody's doing now. He was doing that way back in the day. I mean, we went out there. You remember we went out there in 2013 and played them.
Ahmad Bradshaw.
Oh, it set the tone from the very first snap. Pitched it to him, and I forget the D-back, stud DB, came up, and it was like 2 Rams, on one of those deals.
Yeah.
And set the tone for the day. It was a heck of a win for us.
Huge win. That stadium was absolute crap, garbage, trash, candlestick. Cool to be there, though. You're part of history, like actual ancient history. You're in the middle of it while playing. But I think that was my first time encountering Harbaugh. When I was warming up on the field, he walked over, and I'm looking down at the ground. I don't know, trying to probably figure out how far I am. And I saw his cleats first. I saw cleats walk up first, and then I saw the khakis, and then I look up, and it's him, and he goes, "Hey, Pat, just wanted to say hello or whatever." I'm like, "Coach Harbaugh, very nice to meet you." He just walks away. We had a lot of Stanford guys on our team, so I'd heard a lot about Harbaugh. I'm assuming there's a chance he potentially heard, but he was always incredibly kind to me, and he's always been incredibly friendly, and his players love him. Like, his players have always loved him. And I think that is a massive piece of this. There's not a lot of people that have been able to successfully coach in college and in the NFL. I mean, I guess you're one of them. Yeah. Your name never gets really mentioned in that entire aspect, and that's kind of bullshit, I guess. But there's not a lot of people that have been able to reach 18-year-olds and also been able to reach 37-year-olds. It's not easy. There's a dynamic there in which you have to have respect, and your resume has to be real, and the way you communicate has to be a special way. Harbaugh has been able to prove that he can do that, and now he's taking on a brand new challenge with a team who's second fiddle in their own city, in their own stadium, a team that for whatever reason, just at the very end, they have the Detroit Lions syndrome. At the very end of the game, they're going to blow it. No, we don't know how. We don't know why. They're going to blow it. And it's like he's coming in there now with the same mindset he had at Michigan. And I think we all agree he's going to win, right? I think that's just how we all agree now.
No, absolutely. They pulled off the biggest coup. You talked about the Spanos family not being real spendy, being a little bit tight with the money. Maybe they don't have the money, but they went out and spent whatever they had to spend.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear what this number is.
To get their dude. He'll win a championship there.